My name is Elena Cross. I'm 26, and I built a company out of caffeine, code, and coastal sunrises. San Diego is the kind of place where the ocean pretends to forgive you every morning. Waves come in, waves go out, like a reset button. I used to think I could get reborn with each sunrise. Our office sat 2 blocks from the Embarcadero, glass walls catching the Pacific's glare. We had whiteboards that never fully erased, and a neon sign that read, "Ship it." People took photos in front of that sign on their first day. I founded Lattice Loop in my grad school apartment, an ops automation platform for mid-sized startups. 6 lines of Python, then 6,000, then a team. From chaos to clarity, our tagline said, which felt corny until it started working. By spring, we had real customers, real revenue, and a real problem. I needed someone who understood enterprise sales and investor handshakes. That's how I met Lucas. He was 34, a polished ex-growth VP with the kind of watch you notice, even if you say you don't notice watches. He laughed easily and finished other people's sentences in ways that made them feel genius. We shook hands over cold brew in Little Italy and signed our co-founder agreement a week later. 50-50 co-CEOs, he said, smiling like it was a fairy tale. No egos, I said, because I still believed words could keep people honest. We clinked mason jars, like we were in a Pinterest board. Fast forward 8 months. We were prepping for a Series A Tuesday that smelled like printer toner and overripe bananas from the free snack bin. I was running on 4 hours of sleep and a version of myself I could barely recognize. "Quick board sync?" Lucas asked, breezing into my office. His shirt was pressed to the point of arrogance. He didn't sit. He hovered. "Bored?" I blinked. "We don't have a board meeting until Friday." "Right," he said. "This is pre-board." The conference room was colder than usual. Someone always cranked the AC when they were nervous. A pitcher of water, 3 glasses, 2 seats filled. Maxine, our counsel from a boutique firm in Del Mar, looked like she had swallowed a cactus. On the screen, a VC partner dialed in from Palo Alto with a background that screamed tax bracket. Lucas took the head chair. I took the one with a wobble. Maxine began. "We're here to ratify updated governance provisions ahead of the financing." Her voice trembled on governance, like she was apologizing to the word. "Updated how?" I asked. Lucas smiled in my direction, but aimed his words at the VC. "As discussed, cleaner cap table, stronger leadership clarity, and investor protections." "Clarity?" I repeated. "We're already clear." The VC cleared his throat. "The term sheet assumes a single CEO going forward, Elena." He said my name like it was a casualty. I felt my ribs lock. "Since when?" I asked, and my voice sliced the air. Lucas folded his hands like a priest at a grave. "Since we discussed it last week." "We didn't." "We did," he said, almost gentle. "You were focused on product." He let focused hang, like he meant distracted, like he meant unfit. Maxine slid a folder toward me. I recognized our company's letterhead, but the words were strangers. Amended and restated, certificate of incorporation. Voting agreement. Founder vesting acceleration. Struck through. "I never approved this," I said, pushing the papers back. Maxine wouldn't meet my eyes. "That's what we're here to do," she said. I looked at Lucas. "We're equal founders." He shrugged, and the shrug cracked something inside me. "Dilution happens in rounds, Elena. You know this. It doesn't happen in secret." The VC's face flickered on the screen, buffering between sympathy and impatience. "We need decisiveness at the helm," he said. "The market's brutal. We can't have co-leadership paralysis." I stood. The wobble chair scraped the floor, and everyone flinched. "I wrote the first line of this company," I said. "I wrote the map." Lucas folded his arms. "And I got us the money and the pipeline. We're a team, just with a captain." He let the word land. Captain. "Not me." Maxine tapped her pen. A quiet drumroll for something terrible. "The proposal also includes a reverse split and an expanded option pool," she said. My eyes flew to the cap table. My name had slid down the page like it was melting. "How much?" I asked. Lucas exhaled. like I was asking to see a wound. You'll end up with 17%, fully diluted, he said. It's still meaningful. I laughed. It sounded like choking. I had 48. You'll vest more with performance, the VC added. We're aligning incentives. Aligning. A pretty word for theft. I stared at the neon Ship It sign through the glass. The E had flickered out that morning. Ship It had become Ship It. My hands were shaking. I tucked them into the pockets of my hoodie and squeezed until my nails bit skin. Pain is proof you're still in your body. Why didn't you come to me? I asked Lucas. He set his jaw. I did. You said we'd talk after launch. I said we'd decide together. Sometimes not deciding is a decision. He said it like it was wisdom. It felt like a shovel load of dirt. Maxine slid a pen to me. Sign. And we can close the round by Friday. Her eyes finally met mine, and there was water in them. I'm sorry, she mouthed. I wasn't sure for what. I lowered into the chair. The room was moving. Slow carousel horses on a dangerous ride. My heart beat in my throat. I read every line. Each clause a small ambush. Drag-along rights tightened. Protective provisions strengthened on their side. I flipped to the founder agreement. Someone had added a cause clause broad enough to cover breathing wrong. Termination mechanics that could make a poet cry. Who drafted this? I asked. Maxine pressed her lips together. Standard for the current market. I looked at Lucas again. We had shared late-night tacos and shared Postmates passwords. He used to forward me memes at 2 a.m. Now he was forwarding me out of my own life. I thought of the first office, 2 desks, 1 stapler, 0 HR policies. I thought of the weekend we slept under our desks to ship a feature. I thought of how he'd once said, "It's you and me against the world, Lena." He'd shortened my name that night, made me feel lighter. I took the pen. I signed the attendance acknowledgement. I initialed the received draft lines. But when I got to the signature block that would ratify the amended charter, my hand stalled. This is wrong, I said. Nobody moved. This is wrong. Lucas's voice softened. The way you talk to a pet you're about to leave at the vet. Elena, you'll thank me. Investors need certainty. You're brilliant at product. I'm better at CEO optics. It's not personal. I pushed the folder back. Everything about this is personal. The VC coughed. If we can't align, we have other opportunities. He didn't say we have other founders, but I heard it anyway. Lucas leaned forward. Elena, don't do this. I stood again. I'm not signing. The wobble chair wobbled like it was grieving. He exchanged a look with Maxine. Then, per our bylaws, he said, almost tender, we'll proceed with a written consent from the majority of the common and preferred. We already have the votes. The words found my ears and then detonated. Written consent. Majority. Already. You got the angels to sign without me? I whispered. Lucas didn't blink. They believe in the plan. My throat burned. I felt 12 years old, watching older kids break something and call it a game. I wanted to throw the pitcher of water just to hear glass prove how hard the world really is. Maxine's voice went smaller. There is also an employment matter. Her pen tapped again, a metronome for bad news. Effective today, the board has voted to transition CEO duties to Lucas. We'd love for you to stay on as head of product. The word transition snapped in the air like a rubber band. I imagined my title changing in Slack, little bubbles popping in DM threads. I imagined my mother calling, "How's the company, baby?" I imagined my voice lying. "I'm not staying as anything," I said. Lucas looked disappointed, like I'd failed a test he'd designed to be failed. "We'll need your laptop by end of day," he said. "And your badge. HR will send exit paperwork." Badge. Exit. Like I was a guest who'd overstayed. I left the conference room before anyone could see the tears. The hallway felt longer than any runway I'd ever seen. People glanced up from monitors and then down again, guilty of knowing. My desk had a plant I'd been trying not to kill. A succulent, theoretically impossible to ruin. I touched its fat leaves and whispered, "Sorry." I pulled my notebook from the drawer. The Moleskine, with the cracked spine, and the first sketch of our architecture. Under it, a thin folder I kept for optimism, a someday folder. It held printed investor updates, marked up with red pen when I couldn't sleep. Contracts with vendors, where I'd insisted on audit rights, because anxiety can be practical. A copy of the original co-founder agreement with a sticky note. Don't lose this. I slid the folder into my tote. My hands had stopped shaking. On my way out, I passed the ship it sign again. The E flickered back to life for a second, then died. Even electricity was undecided. Outside, the air smelled like salt and exhaust. The sun had shifted, late afternoon stretching shadows like taffy. I walked toward the water because there's nowhere else to go when your lungs forget how. I sat on a bench facing the bay and let the anger arrive. It came in waves, like everything here. First the sting, then the roar, then the pull. He took my company. He took my title. He thought he'd taken my future. A gull landed near my shoe and stared. Entitled. I stared back. Do I look like I have snacks? I asked, and laughed. And then the laugh collapsed into a sob. I wiped my face on my sleeve. The sleeve smelled like coffee and code, and a life that was suddenly past tense. Across the water, a boat honked, low and stubborn. My phone buzzed. A calendar invite. CEO transition messaging plan. Decline. Another buzz. An unknown number. I ignored it, then watched a voicemail appear. On reflex, I hit play. A voice I recognized spoke, careful and clipped. Maxine. Elena, it's Maxine. I shouldn't say this on a recording, but check the signature pages from last month's vendor addendum and your April investor update. There's something you need to see. Call me from a personal number. The message ended. The bay glittered like a dare. I opened my tote and pulled out the folder. April investor update. Marked up in red. Vendor addendum. Page 3 signature grid. I compared dates. I compared signatures. My breath went still. On one page, Lucas's signature was wrong. Not just rushed. Wrong. The L had a tail he never makes. The K's angle was off. And the date format, a European style, he never uses. My heart restarted as something else. Not relief. Not grief. Fuel. If that signature was forged, the consent he bragged about might be rotten. If the investor update contained clarifications I never sent, the dilution might unravel like a badly knit scarf. Seagulls screamed overhead. Cars hissed past on Harbor Drive. The sun lowered itself with ceremony behind the cranes. I stood up, folder under my arm, phone in my fist. My voice was steady when I said, to nobody and everybody. Okay. Okay. I dialed Maxine from my personal number. The call connected, and then a second call tried to break through Lucas. I watched his name flash across the screen. I watched my future tilt. I had to choose which call to take first. When betrayal hits, it's not a single blow. It's an aftershock that keeps coming. Emails, missed calls, calendar invites from ghosts. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat cross-legged on my couch with a folder, my laptop, and a half-eaten burrito that went cold around 2 a.m. San Diego's skyline glowed like a screensaver, the lights pretending the city was still awake with me. I hit callback on Maxine's number. She picked up after one ring, whispering like her walls could testify. Maxine. Elena? Are you alone? Me. Yeah. You said to call from a personal number. What's going on? Maxine. I can't talk long. The amendments Lucas pushed through, there's a problem with the filings. Me. Problem how? Maxine. The signature pages you have from April, they don't match what was submitted to the state. Someone replaced your originals. Me. You mean, forged. Maxine. I didn't say that. Me. You didn't have to. Her silence told me everything. Maxine. Listen, Elena. If what I think happened actually happened, it's serious. But you need proof. Digital proof. The filings, the metadata, email, timestamps, anything. Me. How do I get that without access? Maxine. You don't. You find someone who still does. She hung up before I could ask who she meant. Outside, a freight train cut across the night, horns low and endless. By sunrise, I'd decided not to cry anymore. If he forged documents, that wasn't just betrayal, it was fraud. Fraud leaves footprints. I made a list in my notebook titled Operation Phoenix because, if you're going to rebuild, name it like a mission. First item, access logs. Second, investor update drafts. Third, find an ally. I didn't have many left. Most of my team had already been pulled into Lucas's orbit, orbiting a sun they didn't realize would burn them later. Except one, Zara, our lead backend engineer. Zara didn't do politics. She did code and cold brew. If loyalty were a programming language, she was fluent. I texted her. Need to meet, not at the office. Urgent but quiet. She replied 3 dots. Then, dog park at Seaport Village, 11 a.m. The morning smelled like seaweed and burnt espresso. Zara wore her usual oversized hoodie, leash in one hand, corgi in the other. She didn't hug me. She just said, "You look like a lawsuit." "Working on it," I said, trying to smile. We sat on a bench, while her corgi chewed a stick like it had opinions. I opened my folder and showed her the forged page. Her eyes widened. "That's not his signature." "I know, can you prove it?" She looked at me the way engineers look at puzzles they secretly love. "If he signed the actual version digitally, there's an audit trail somewhere. But I don't have admin privileges anymore." "What about the backup server?" "What about the backup server?" She smirked. "You mean the one nobody told Lucas exists?" I blinked. "You didn't decommission it?" "Please. I decommission things the way my mom deletes photos, never." I exhaled. "You're my favorite person." "Don't get emotional," she said. "You're buying me tacos after this." That afternoon, we sat in her car in a parking garage downtown, Wi-Fi tethered, laptops balanced on our knees. It felt like a spy movie, if the spies drank Monster and coded in dark mode. She typed fast, narrating like a hacker godmother. "Okay. Connecting to the mirror server. Credentials still valid. Lucas never changed the root password. Hustle 2022. What a tool." I'm in. Checking access logs for the April investor update folder. I watched her screen fill with lines of text, time-stamped like breadcrumbs. "There," she said. "Upload from Lucas's account at 11:46 p.m. UTC. But the weird part, IP address doesn't match his network. It's routed through a proxy. Someone wanted this to look clean. Can we trace the proxy?" "Give me a minute." "Yeah. It's from a WeWork downtown. Co-working network. Could be anyone." I leaned back, frustration burning under my skin. "So we can't prove it was him?" She smiled. "I didn't say that." She pulled up another log. "Check this out." He opened the doc at 11:43. "Made changes, saved, uploaded. But the edit's metadata still has your user ID tagged as author. He impersonated your login." That word impersonated felt like static in my ears. "That's illegal," I said. "Yup. Can you export this?" "Already did. Encrypted copy, cloud backup, and local copy on a drive you'll keep in your freezer if you're smart." "Freezer?" "Cops and hackers both hate moisture," she said, dead serious. I almost laughed. Almost. When we finished, I looked out the windshield. The city buzzed in afternoon heat. A couple of my old coworkers crossed the street, laughing, wearing lattice loop t-shirts. They looked free. I wasn't free. Not yet. That night, I printed everything. Digital proof meant nothing until it could be held, touched, presented. The forged signature, the access logs, timestamps, the email header showing Lucas's late-night submission to council. I stacked them on my dining table, like armor. Then I called Maxine again. "Me. I have proof." "Maxine. Proof of forgery?" "Me. Proof he impersonated my login, modified official docs, and pushed them through state filings." Maxine. "Jesus." "Me. What do I do?" Maxine. "You bring it to someone who can't ignore it." That someone was Elliot Shaw, a venture attorney in La Jolla I'd met during an accelerator program. He'd once told me, "If a co-founder ever tries to screw you, call me before you call your therapist." So I did. His office was all glass and succulents, the San Diego aesthetic of serene capitalism. He looked up from his laptop when I entered. "Elena Cross," he said. "The Phoenix rises?" More like the phoenix drafts a lawsuit. Sit, he said. Tell me everything. I told him. Every word, every forged page, every timestamp. He listened, didn't interrupt once, just drummed his pen against the table occasionally. When I finished, he exhaled. Classic co-founder coup. You built it, he monetized it, and when it was time to divide the spoils, he picked your pocket. But forging state documents, that's next level stupid. So, what can we do? We don't go to war, he said. We go to court. But first, we scare him. I blinked. Scare him? He grinned, sharp. We send a preservation notice, formal legal letter. We allege irregularities in filings and demand he cease all actions pending review. No accusation, just implication. It'll shake him. Then what? Then we find the investor who cares about their reputation more than their return, someone who'll force the board to listen. I nodded slowly. And if that doesn't work? He leaned forward. Then we burn it all down legally, one clause at a time. I left his office with the letter draft in hand and a strange calm in my chest. Revenge didn't always look like fire. Sometimes, it looked like stationery and signatures. But that night, as I was printing a second copy of the letter, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Voicemail. I hit play. Elena, it's Lucas. I know you've been talking to people. Let's not make this uglier than it has to be. We can still fix this if you come in tomorrow. Alone. My stomach tightened. He knew. He shouldn't have known. I looked around my apartment, suddenly aware of every reflection, every light. My laptop camera was still open. I slammed it shut. And then I noticed something on my desk, an envelope. No postage. Just my name, written in neat black ink. I hadn't seen it there an hour ago. Inside was a single sheet of paper. You're not the only one who kept records. Stop digging. No signature. My hands went cold. The letter trembled. For the first time since that board meeting, I felt real fear not of losing my company, but of what Lucas might do to keep it. And somewhere deep inside, under the fear, a sharper thought rose up. He had no idea what I was capable of. I didn't sleep that night either. Fear has a strange way of keeping you company. It paces your living room, rearranges your thoughts, whispers possibilities that make your stomach twist. That letter sat on my kitchen counter under the microwave light, the handwriting taunting me. You're not the only one who kept records. No signature, no return address. It could have been Lucas. It could have been someone working for him, or it could have been someone trying to warn me. I told myself not to panic. But panic had already unpacked its suitcase. By 3 a.m., I'd done a full sweep of my apartment, checked under rugs, unplugged my Echo, taped over my laptop camera. Every sound felt amplified. The fridge humming, the ceiling cracking, my heartbeat trying to outpace reason. Zara texted around 3:17. Still alive? Barely. Stay offline. I just got a weird Slack ping from HR, asking if I'd talk to you. Delete everything. Already did. Stay safe, boss. Boss. That one word felt like oxygen. The next morning, I drove up the coast to La Jolla again, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Elliot's office was quieter than usual, maybe because I'd shown up before 8 a.m. He looked up from his phone and frowned. You look like you've been haunted. Maybe I have. I slid the anonymous letter across his desk. He read it once, then again slower, the lawyer in him cataloging tone and ink weight. This isn't a threat, he said. It's a warning. I don't see the difference. The difference is that someone's nervous enough to tell you not to dig, which means you're getting close. Close to what? He leaned back. To something Lucas really doesn't want public. By noon, Elliot had sent the preservation notice to Lattice Loop's board. It was clean, formal, terrifying in its politeness. Words like irregularities and fiduciary duty and potential legal exposure danced across the page like loaded guns. We CC'd Lucas, the investors, and at Elliot's insistence, the company's outside counsel. Sunlight, he said, is the best disinfectant. By 2 p.m., my phone was vibrating nonstop. Calls from unknown numbers. LinkedIn messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Texts from employees pretending they didn't know what was going on but absolutely did. And then, a message from Lucas. Lucas, we need to talk. This isn't how professionals handle things. Me. Professionals don't forge signatures. Lucas. Big accusations. Be careful what you say. Me. Be careful what you do. Lucas. You're playing with fire, Elena. Me. Good. I like it warm. He didn't respond. That evening, I met Zara at our old office building's parking lot. She'd brought her laptop, and that same corgi, who now wore a bandana that read, Emotional Support Employee. You sure about this? She asked. Not even slightly. We walked around back to the loading entrance, the one maintenance used after hours. Zara swiped her badge, and to my surprise, the door beeped green. They didn't revoke your access? I whispered. She smirked. They revoked the obvious one. Inside, the building smelled like whiteboard markers and ambition. The lattice loop logo on the wall gleamed like nothing had changed, like my name wasn't already gone from the website. We slipped into the server room. The hum of machines filled the silence. Zara plugged in her drive and started typing. What are we looking for exactly? She asked. Something he didn't want me to see. That's not specific. I know. Her fingers flew anyway. We started pulling archived emails, backups, and internal Slack exports, the kind that never really delete. After a few minutes, she froze. Elena, look at this. On her screen, a private Slack thread between Lucas and our CFO, dated 2 weeks before the board coup. Lucas. If she pushes back, we'll execute consent with placeholder signatures. Nobody audits startup filings. CFO. Risky. If she ever notices. Lucas. She won't. She's buried in product. And even if she does, she doesn't have the votes. CFO. What about Maxine? Lucas. I'll handle counsel. Just get me the doc versions she signed. I stared at the messages until the words blurred. It wasn't just fraud. It was premeditated. Zara exhaled. We have him. This is the nail. Export it, I said. Everything. But before she could, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Slow, heavy, deliberate. We froze. The doorknob turned once. Then again. Zara yanked her laptop cable and killed the screen. We ducked behind a server rack, holding our breath. The door opened. 2 voices, male, low. They said the network spiked again. Probably just backup replication. Still, Lucas wants eyes on it. Zara mouthed Lucas at me, her eyes wide. The men walked deeper in, flashlights cutting through the dim. I could hear my pulse louder than their shoes. One of them moved toward our row. Zara's corgi chose that moment to sneeze. A loud, ridiculous sneeze that might as well have been an alarm. What the fuck was that, a dog? Check that corner. We bolted. Zara slammed the door open, laptop under her arm, leash in hand. We sprinted down the hallway, past the conference room where it had all gone wrong, past the stupid neon ship it sign that still mocked me. Someone shouted behind us, "Hey, stop!" We didn't. We ran through the emergency exit and into the alley. The door banged shut behind us, triggering an alarm. Red lights flashed across the back lot. Zara was laughing and panting. This feels illegal. It probably is, I said, catching my breath. But so is what he did. Later, in her car, she plugged the laptop back in. Got the exports, she said between breaths. Logs, Slack thread, timestamps. The works. I could have cried from relief. This is enough, I said. We can prove he faked everything. She looked at me, face half lit by the dashboard glow. So what now? Court? Not yet. Then what? I took a long breath. I'm going to give him a chance to tell the truth. Zara blinked. That's noble. Or stupid. Maybe both. The next morning, I walked into the office, like I still belonged there. Reception froze, people whispered. I didn't stop until I reached Lucas's glass-walled corner office. He was on a call. When he saw me, he went pale. Hang on, he muttered into the phone. Yeah, I'll call you back. He set it down carefully, like he was placing a bomb. Elena, he said, this isn't appropriate. I smiled. Neither is forgery. His jaw flexed. You're making a mistake. I placed a USB drive on his desk. Everything you changed. Everything you thought nobody would find. He didn't touch it. Lucas, I said quietly. I built this company. You built a lie. I'm giving you one chance to fix it voluntarily. Step down, restore my shares, issue a public statement, and we end this quietly. He stared at me, expression unreadable. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. You think you can threaten me with your little flash drive? He said. I have lawyers, investors, capital. You have screenshots and moral outrage. Maybe, I said. But I also have the truth, and you'd be amazed how viral that gets. He stood up slowly, coming around the desk. You're emotional. That's why you'll never be CEO material. I looked him dead in the eye. That's why I'll never be your kind of CEO. We stood there in silence, inches apart. I could smell the mint on his breath and the arrogance in his smile. Then he leaned closer. You have no idea how deep this goes, Elena. You should walk away while you can. I turned toward the door. I don't walk away, I said. I rebuild. Back in my car, my hands trembled on the steering wheel. Zara texted. Well? He's scared. Good. He also said something. You have no idea how deep this goes. That's not cryptic at all. No, it's a warning. I looked up at the lattice loop building one more time. The logo gleamed against the sky. And beneath it, a security guard walked out, carrying a box of someone's things. Not mine. Not yet. Because, next time, I wasn't just coming back for my company. I was coming back for everything he tried to bury. And he had no idea what was about to surface. There's a moment in every revenge story where you stop being the victim and start being the architect. That morning was mine. I sat in my car, outside Lattice Loop's glass tower, replaying Lucas's smirk in my head like a bad trailer I couldn't skip. He thought I'd walk away. He thought power was the same thing as control. He was wrong. Because I still had one card left to play someone with more influence than Lucas, someone who could actually turn the board against him. And her name was Ava Linden. Ava was the first investor who ever believed in me. Back when Lattice Loop was 2 people and a dream written on Post-its, she'd wired us $250,000 without a single follow-up question. She was smart, ruthless, and allergic to incompetence. But when Lucas came on board, he pushed her out quietly. Her fund had a small equity slice too small to fight the big VCs he courted. Last I'd heard, she'd moved into climate tech and was happily ignoring San Diego's startup drama. Still, if there was anyone who could nuke a founder's credibility overnight, it was her, and I needed that firepower. I found her email in an old thread subject line. Proud of you, kid. Keep building. I hit compose and stared at the blinking cursor. What do you even say to someone who once believed in your dream, then watched it implode? Finally I typed, subject, need your help. Urgent. Ava. I know it's been a while. Lucas pushed through forged documents to dilute my shares and oust me. I have evidence. I can prove it. But I need an ally with influence, someone the board will actually listen to. If you still believe in what we built, please meet me. Elena. I hit send before I could lose my nerve. She replied 20 minutes later. Ava. You have 30 minutes. Blue Bottle, La Jolla Cove. Bring proof. Classic Ava. No emojis, no small talk, just business. When I got there, she was already seated, white linen blazer, laptop open, sunglasses resting on the table like punctuation. Her hair was shorter, silver threads now gleaming under the coastal light. She looked exactly like someone who'd made and lost millions before lunch. Elena Cross, she said, standing to shake my hand. Didn't think I'd see you again outside TechCrunch headlines. Those were better days, I said. Depends on your definition of better. She gestured to the seat. Show me what you've got. I pulled out my folder printouts of the Slack thread. Access logs, signatures, timestamps. She read in silence, tapping her nail against the table every few seconds. When she reached the forged signature, she paused. He did this himself? With help, I said. Our CFO and maybe counsel, but Maxine's trying to make it right. Ava leaned back. This isn't startup drama, Elena. This is felony territory. I know. She studied me for a long moment. You're not scared? I am, I admitted. But fear doesn't fix what's broken. She smiled sharp, approving. There's the founder I backed. We spent the next hour outlining a plan. Ava would contact two of the Series A investors, both of whom owed her favors, and quietly circulate the documents. Once investors smell liability, she said, loyalty evaporates. Then she asked the question I'd been avoiding. What's your endgame, Elena? You want revenge, or you want your company back? I hesitated. For the first time since the betrayal, I wasn't sure which I wanted more. I want the truth public, I said finally, and I want him to pay for what he did. Then you need both. She closed the folder gently. I'll call the board tonight. Expect movement within 48 hours, but if Lucas realizes what's happening before then, he'll panic, and that's when people make mistakes. Be ready for his next move. By evening, the city was glowing again, pink sky, slow waves, that deceptive San Diego calm. I was at Zara's apartment, pacing, while she packed the encrypted copies of our data into multiple drives. You think Ava can actually flip the board? Zara asked. She's Ava Linden, I said. She can flip the Pentagon if she wants. Zara grinned. Remind me never to get on your bad side. You already are, I said, but you're useful. We both laughed. And for a second, it felt normal again. Two friends, hacking the universe from a one-bedroom apartment. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You shouldn't have gone to her. I told you to stop digging. I stared at the screen. Zara saw my face change. What is it? What is it? What is it? I showed her the message. She frowned. He's watching you. Or someone is. We both looked at the window. Across the street, a black SUV idled, engine running, no driver visible through the tinted glass. Zara whispered, Tell me that's Uber. Uber doesn't park for 30 minutes, I said. The next morning, I drove to Elliot's office to update him. He listened carefully, then said, If he's trying to intimidate you, it's working. You need to protect yourself. Digital and physical. Meaning, I'm assigning you a private security consultant. She used to work for a corporate investigations firm, knows how to sniff out surveillance. Is that really necessary? He looked at me over his glasses. You're up against someone who forged federal documents, Elena. Necessary doesn't begin to cover it. He handed me a card. Maya Stone, forensic security consultant. I called her that afternoon. She answered on the second ring, voice low and calm. Maya. You're the founder who got ghosted by her own company, right? Me. That's one way to put it. Maya. Then let's make sure you don't disappear again. Send me your address. Maya showed up that evening. Tall, quiet, wearing tactical boots, and the kind of expression that said she'd seen worse. She swept my apartment for bugs, cameras, GPS trackers, nothing. Then she scanned my laptop and phone. Your devices are clean, she said, but your Wi-Fi router isn't. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? She turned the screen toward me, a list of MAC addresses. There's a ghost connection. Someone's been remotely mirroring your traffic for at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I repeated. That's before I found the forged signature. Maya nodded. He's been watching longer than you think. That night, I sat in silence, staring at the router lights blinking like a heartbeat. Lucas had been inside my digital world, watching my searches, my drafts, maybe even the messages with Ava. I felt exposed, violated. Maya unplugged everything. We'll set up a clean system tomorrow, she said. But for now, go analog. No email, no texts. Then how do I talk to Ava? She smiled faintly. Old-fashioned way. Paper and coffee. 2 days later, the board called an emergency meeting. Ava had done her part. The email she sent had circulated like wildfire, subject line, urgent, possible governance, irregularities, at Lattice Loop. Every investor, every lawyer, every advisor had seen it. The walls were shaking. Lucas texted me that morning. Lucas, you have no idea what you've started. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Because when the board meeting began, Ava was there, Elliot was there, and I was there standing in front of the same glass table where they once took everything from me. Lucas looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. I smiled. Miss me? The chairperson cleared his throat. Let's begin. There are allegations of document manipulation and unauthorized filings. Mr. Hale, do you have a response? Lucas straightened his tie. Those claims are baseless. She's a disgruntled ex-employee trying to. Ava slid a folder across the table. We have logs, messages, and counsel correspondence proving otherwise. The room went dead silent. The only sound was the air conditioner and the soft flutter of Lucas's composure unraveling. He looked at me. You set me up. No, I said. You set yourself up. I just hit record. The chairperson turned to the legal counsel. We'll need to investigate this immediately, Mr. Hale. You're suspended pending review. Lucas's jaw tightened. You can't, but they could, and they did. He stood up, face red, eyes blazing. This isn't over, Elena. I smiled, calm. I know. He stormed out, the door slamming behind him. The room exhaled. Ava leaned toward me. You realize this isn't the end, right? He's going to fight back. I'm counting on it, I said. Because the next move isn't his. That night, as I drove home, my phone lit up with a new message from a number I didn't recognize. You think you won, but you haven't seen what he buried. Check your old prototype folder. M. I slowed the car. M. Maxine. I pulled over, heart pounding. What did she mean by what he buried? The streetlight above flickered once, twice like a warning. I opened my laptop in the car and navigated to the archived prototype folder from a year ago. Inside were files I hadn't opened in months. But at the bottom, a new one appeared. Confidential, Seed Investors, PDF, last modified 3 weeks ago. Not by me. I clicked it open, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Because buried inside the document wasn't just investor data, it was a secret Lucas had been hiding since the beginning. And if I was right, it could burn down more than just the company. You know that cold rush when you realize your story has a second villain? That was me, sitting in my car at midnight, parked under a streetlight, staring at the file that could unravel everything. Confidential, Seed Investors, PDF, modified 3 weeks ago. Not by me, not by anyone on record. I opened it. At first, it looked like the usual list of early investors, equity breakdowns, wire transfers. Nothing unusual. Then, buried 3 pages down, I saw something that didn't belong. Seed Investor #7, Arctech Holdings Cayman. Contribution $450,000. Beneficial owner, redacted, Arctech. The name didn't exist in any of our original filings, and the account number traced to a bank I recognized from too many news scandals, one used for shell companies, for hiding money. It wasn't just forgery anymore. It was money laundering. And if that was true, then Lattice Loop wasn't just a stolen company. It was a cover. I called Elliot first. He picked up sounding half asleep. Elena? Sorry for the time. I found something. Is it about Lucas? It's about the company. And maybe federal crimes. That woke him up fast. Where are you? In my car. Pacific Beach. Stay there. I'm coming. He arrived 20 minutes later in jeans and a hoodie that screamed, I'm not billing for this. I handed him the laptop and watched his expression shift from curiosity to alarm to disbelief. This isn't just dirty paperwork, he said. If that's a foreign entity with undisclosed ownership, every investor's at risk. It violates SEC regulations, tax compliance, everything. Lucas did it? Probably. Maybe to funnel in unapproved capital before the round, but if that's true. I stared at the file again. Arctech Holdings. Beneficial owner. Redacted. Can we trace it? I asked. Elliot hesitated. Maybe, but we'll need someone who knows offshore tracing. I know someone, said a voice behind us. We both turned. It was Maya, the security consultant. She was standing by my car door, holding 2 coffees like this was normal. I figured you'd find that file, she said. I blinked. You knew? I didn't know what it was, just that it was dangerous. How dangerous? Elliot asked. She took a sip of coffee. Depends on who's behind Arctech. If it's who I think it is, you're not just dealing with Lucas. You're dealing with people who don't file lawsuits. They make problems disappear. The words hung in the air like fog. Elliot swore under his breath. We need to get this off your laptop. Now. Maya nodded. Already ahead of you. I cloned the drive, encrypted it, and wiped the local cache. If they're watching her traffic again, they'll only see static. I looked between them. You two sound like you've done this before. Maya smiled faintly. Let's just say I used to work corporate security for companies that liked keeping secrets. By morning, Elliot had filed for a temporary injunction, freezing any transactions made under Lattice Loop's name. It was a power move, one that would lock Lucas out of his accounts. The board panicked. Ava called me before noon. Ava. Elena, what did you do? Me. Found a fake investor. Ava. You mean unregistered capital? Me. Try offshore shell company. Ava. Jesus Christ. She went quiet for a long time. Then, you realize if this comes out, every investor, including me, gets dragged through compliance hell. Then we fix it fast, I said. Before Lucas does. Lucas won't fix it, she said. He'll bury it deeper. Meanwhile, Zara texted. The office is chaos. CFO resigned. Lucas isn't answering calls. HR says, no comment. I think he's running. Running. That one word hit harder than I expected. I didn't want him to run. I wanted him to face what he'd done, to see everything crumble around him the way it had around me. That afternoon, Maya traced the Arctech account through a web of transactions. Every breadcrumb led to another shell. Finally, she found something. Got it, she said. The account originates from a Delaware LLC, Velen Capital Partners. Elliot frowned. That's one of Lattice Loop's original angel syndicates. Maya nodded. But here's the twist. Velen's owner isn't listed as a fund. She turned the screen toward me. Registered agent, Lucas Hale. My blood turned to static. He funded his own seed round? Elliot exhaled. Not just funded. He laundered personal money into the company under a fake investor name. That's securities fraud. I felt the room tilt. He hadn't just stolen from me. He'd built the entire company on a lie. By evening, the news had started to leak. Someone at the board must have tipped a journalist. My phone lit up with notifications. TechCrunch, sources, claim governance irregularities at Lattice Loop. Bloomberg, early-stage startup faces internal audit amid fraud allegations. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt sick. Because while the headlines spun, my phone buzzed again this time, a voicemail from an unlisted number. I played it on speaker with Maya and Elliot listening. Voicemail, low. You're digging into things that don't concern you, Miss Cross. If you care about your safety, you'll stop. Lucas isn't the only one with skin in this game. Click. Maya swore softly. That wasn't Lucas. Elliot's face had gone pale. Elena, you need to leave town, tonight. But I didn't. I couldn't. I'd lost too much to run now. And if Lucas wasn't the top of this food chain, I needed to know who was. So I did what Lucas never expected. I reached out to him. A text. Simple. You lied about Arctech. We both know it. Meet me. No lawyers. No reply. An hour passed. Then my phone buzzed. Lucas. Pier 6. Midnight. Come alone. Maya tried to stop me. You realize this could be a setup, right? It's always a setup, I said. The question is who walks away, standing. She looked at me for a long moment, then handed me a small recording device. Keep this in your pocket. Whatever happens, get him talking. The pier was empty except for the hum of the ocean and the sound of my own heartbeat. Lucas was there, leaning against a railing, wearing a jacket too expensive for the crimes he'd committed. You look tired, he said. I've been busy cleaning up your mess, I replied. He smiled faintly. You don't understand, Elena. Arctech wasn't mine. I was told to use it. By who? He hesitated. You think I wanted this? You think I forged those papers for fun? I was told to make you sign them, or they'd pull funding, and not the kind you can refuse. Who are they? He stepped closer. You don't want to know. Try me. He looked out over the water. Arctech wasn't an investor. It was a holding company for someone who wanted access to our data pipeline. Lattice Loop's platform was supposed to be for logistics, right? But they wanted the back-end tech for surveillance. Tracking shipments, tracking people. I felt my stomach drop. You sold them user data? He looked at me, desperate. I didn't have a choice. I shook my head. You always have a choice, Lucas. Not when they're watching your family, he said quietly. Not when they own you before you even sign. The wind off the ocean howled, carrying his words into the dark. Who are they? I asked again. He didn't answer, just turned to leave. Lucas, I called. If you don't tell me, I'll find them myself. He stopped, looked back. Then you'd better be ready to lose more than your company, he said. Because they don't play fair. He walked off into the night. I stood there, alone, waves crashing beneath the pier, the sound of the world unraveling, and when I finally looked down at my phone, the recorder was still running. Every word he'd said, captured. Proof. And maybe, finally, a way to bring them all down. By the time dawn hit San Diego, the city felt different, quieter, heavier. The kind of morning that comes after a storm when the air still hums with what almost broke you. Lucas's words from the pier kept replaying in my head. They don't play fair. Whoever they were, they'd used my company, my code, to build something darker than logistics. Something meant to watch, to track, to control. And that meant my revenge wasn't just about Lattice Loop anymore. It was about making sure they never used my technology again. I played the recording for Elliot and Maya in the office that morning. Elliot listened, face tight, fingers steepled under his chin. When it ended, he said one word: perfect. Maya raised an eyebrow. Perfect? The man just confessed to corporate espionage. Exactly, Elliot said. It's enough to bring in federal regulators and enough leverage to force the board to cut ties with anyone linked to Arctech. You're sitting on the nuclear button, Elena. I looked out the window at the skyline I used to love. I'd built something pure, and it had been hijacked by greed, lies, and fear. Now I had the choice to burn it all down or take it back. I turned to them both. I'm not destroying Lattice Loop. I'm reclaiming it. The next 48 hours were a blur of strategy. Ava handled the investors. She'd been waiting for this moment ever since she saw the forged contracts. Investors hate two things, she said over the phone: fraud and bad press. We'll feed them both, in that order. Elliot drafted the filings: a motion to remove Lucas permanently, appoint me interim CEO, and dissolve any agreement tied to Arctech Holdings. And Maya? She went to war online, scouring metadata, tracking every fake IP that had connected to Arctech's servers. When she finally looked up from her laptop, she smirked. Found them. The trail ends at a consulting firm in D.C. Shell Corp with government contracts. Whoever Lucas worked for, they're spooked now. Good. The board meeting was held on a Friday afternoon. The same glass room, the same ocean view, the same empty chair where I used to sit. But this time, I wasn't the one walking in afraid. Lucas was already there, escorted by two lawyers who looked like they charged by the heartbeat. He looked pale, exhausted, and for the first time, smaller than I remembered. The chairperson began. Miss Cross, you've requested an emergency vote regarding the company's leadership and shareholder integrity. Proceed. I stood, every word measured. In the last 2 weeks, I've uncovered evidence of forged documents, undisclosed offshore investors, and illegal data contracts under Lattice Loop's name. I have a full audit report and a recorded confession from Mr. Hale verifying these claims. Gasps rippled across the room. Lucas's lawyers froze. I pressed play. The recording echoed through the glass. Lucas's voice, raw and clear. I didn't have a choice. They wanted the back-end tech for surveillance. When it ended, silence filled the room. The chairperson turned to Lucas. Do you deny these statements? His mouth opened, then closed. For the first time in his life, Lucas Hale had nothing to say. Ava spoke next. As a founding investor, I motioned to remove Mr. Hale as CEO effective immediately, restore Elena Cross's equity and position, and initiate legal proceedings for damages and fraud. Seconded, said another board member. All in favor? Every hand in the room went up. Except Lucas's. The vote was unanimous. He stared at me, eyes full of venom and regret. "You think you've won," he said quietly. "But you still don't understand who you're dealing with." "Then, I guess they'll understand who they're dealing with now," I said. Security escorted him out. The door shut behind him with a soft click. And just like that, the room exhaled. The next week felt surreal. The headlines exploded. Lattice Loop CEO ousted amid fraud scandal. Founder Elena Cross returns to lead company cleanup. Data privacy concerns spark industry reckoning. But this time, I wasn't hiding from the press. I stood on that stage myself. Lattice Loop was built to bring clarity to chaos, I said at the press conference. Somewhere along the way, we lost that clarity. I'm here to bring it back. It wasn't just a statement, it was a promise. Behind the scenes, Elliot's team was working with federal investigators. Arctech's network was dismantled, its shell accounts exposed. Names surfaced: contractors, intermediaries, a few familiar faces from the investor world. They weren't just laundering money. They'd been harvesting data through integration APIs, repackaging logistics information for surveillance programs overseas. Every file they'd stolen, every trace of Lattice Loop's tech, I had scrubbed, secured, and recoded from scratch. The new system launched 3 months later, fully encrypted, transparent, and open-sourced. Because the best revenge isn't destruction, it's integrity. One night, months later, I was back where it all started, the pier. Same ocean, different me. Zara joined me, holding 2 coffees. "I still can't believe you did it," she said. "I didn't," I said. "We did." She laughed. "You know, he'll probably write a book from prison." "Good. Maybe he'll finally create something original." We stood there, watching the water. The city lights shimmered across the bay like second chances. Zara looked at me. "So what now, CEO?" I smiled. "Now we build. But smarter." In the weeks that followed, something unexpected happened. People reached out: founders, employees, women who'd been pushed out of their own companies. They wanted advice, mentorship, guidance. I started replying, one message at a time. Eventually, those messages turned into a network, a coalition, a safety net for the next Elena Cross, who refused to be erased. They say revenge changes you. They're right. But it doesn't have to ruin you. It can refine you, strip away the illusions, until all that's left is what's real. The fire that once burned you becomes the same fire that forges you. As I looked out at the Pacific that night, I thought about everything I'd lost. Then I thought about everything I'd gained: freedom, truth, and a company reborn. Lattice Loop wasn't a startup anymore. It was a symbol, not of power, but of resilience. Because in the end, the woman they tried to erase had become the headline, the story, the storm. My name is Elena Cross, and I don't build revenge. I build empires.